She deserves, like anyone else in this sport, to be celebrated for her hard-won success.
Simply to put both trans men and trans women into the women's category is insulting.
There's a lack of scientific evidence that conclusively demonstrates the direct link between testosterone and athletic performance. Who was looking at that? This is what athletics is all about. And what we're going to do is we're going to center this around an NBC article. Leah Thomas's NCAA championship performance gives women's sports a crucial opportunity. Anyone who cares about the advancement of sports, and women's sports in particular, should celebrate her win. It's a pretty charged title, let me tell you. And there's a nice little 1.5-minute video, and I want to discuss this and discuss some of the things that are said, because some of the stuff that is said in this article is crazy. Well, not crazy, just crazy.
University of Pennsylvania senior and transgender swimmer Leah Thomas continues to make history. Thomas, a favorite going into the NCAAs with the fastest time in the nation, finishing a disappointing 5th place in a tie in the 200-yard freestyle at the NCAA swimming championships in Georgia. Seconds behind Stanford swimmer Taylor Rock, who set a pool record. Thomas coming off a win in the 500-yard freestyle, saying, amidst the controversy, she's focusing on swimming. After spending 3...
Notice the spin already. Ranked number 1, disappointing 5th place finish in the 200. Now let me just show, I want to give you guys the scope of finishing 5th place, let alone 1st place. But let's just talk about NCAA swimming for women or for men. It is an absolute grind. This sport of swimming in America is an absolute cutthroat grind. There are thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of competitors, from children going up to our Olympians. This is the most competitive area of swimming in the world. If you make the men's or women's Olympic team, you are expected to medal, nothing short of that. This is why we're dominant in swimming. We have thousands of bodies. Yeah, there's potential for doping, as there is in every other sport and Olympics, whatever. But these athletes, as natural athletes growing up, they're the best of the best of the best of the best. This sport in particular, you cannot bullshit this thing. Okay? So 5th place as a female in NCAA is a huge deal. Now, notice how they said that first, and then they quickly mentioned coming off a win in the 500-meter freestyle. She says that she's just going to focus on her next race. It's like, wait. 1 second. 500-meter champion? The 500-meter champion in NCAA is so huge. You guys, this comes from someone who, I was in a swimming family. 2 of my 3 sisters swam in Division I. I swam pretty much, from birth until 13 years old, where at 11, I was doing 2-a-days. Like, it is the most intense child sport, maybe outside of gymnastics. Okay? After a certain point, I just couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to play basketball. I wanted to play football, and I wanted to play lacrosse. Like, they were fun to me. Swimming wasn't fun to me. I could have been a much better swimmer than likely any of the other sports I chose, but that wasn't in the cards for me. My sister swam at Dartmouth, an Ivy League school who faces off against Penn. She worked her ass off and did not make it to the NCAA championships. She didn't even make it there, where you can place, 30th, okay? If she had made it there and gotten 30th, we would have been proud of her and her efforts. We're still proud of her and her efforts. Because in the Ivy Leagues, I think she had an Ivy League medal. My other sister swam at the University of Richmond, a very low-end Division I school. An absolute grind, okay? Both of those things, like they're tremendous athletes. They're not even in the same hemisphere as someone who gets 5th fucking place, okay? Someone who wins the 500-meter freestyle. This is what I want to show the scope of what's occurring here. This isn't weightlifting in New Zealand. This isn't Laurel Hubbard, okay? Laurel Hubbard is a super heavyweight transitioned female. There aren't many super heavyweight female weightlifters in New Zealand. Okay? In America, there are no weight classes and there's hundreds of thousands of female swimmers. You have a male who transitioned into female and won. I want to stay neutral in all of this, but my involvement in swimming, not just within my family, not just within my own experience, but as a strength and conditioning coach, or at least an assistant on the Northwestern men's and women's swimming and Texas A&M men's and women's swimming, to see what those athletes go through, to just witness the effort that those athletes put in for this exact meet. It's something that I don't think that anyone can grasp. It is fucking ridiculous. And adding classes on top of that is just absurd. Okay? That's what I want to talk about first. But here we go. We're going to continue on with this video.
Thomas surpassed the NCAA requirement to compete on the women's squad as a senior, completing 34 months of hormone replacement therapy, far beyond the 12-month NCAA requirement to compete on the women's team. Her presence sparking controversy, from tennis legend Martina Navratilova saying in a recent interview, she's going by the rules, so the rules need to change.
So this is a take that I think I end up agreeing with, but we'll go on further, okay? That take right there, she's playing by the rules.
Because simply to put both trans men and trans women into the women's category is insulting.
Nancy Hawkshead Makar, former Olympic champion and current CEO of the nonprofit Champion Women, says it's not about gender, but science.
So the advantages that male puberty gives somebody is far more than a biological woman could ever achieve.
Olympian and University of Texas freshman Erica Sullivan showing her support for Thomas in an op-ed, saying she deserves, like anyone else in this sport, to be celebrated for her hard-won success, not labeled a cheater simply because of her identity. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.
So, yes, they laid out the facts, but look at the title here. Transgender swimmer Leah Thomas ties for 5th place in NCAA Nationals. Let's just skip over the fact that the weekend that she had is about as good as it could fucking go. Again, we're looking at a race that is insane, like a 500 meter or 500 yard freestyle, I think, because they swim in short course yards in the NCAA. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. If anything, should be short course meters, but that's beside the point. Winning that, that's what Katie Ledecky won. And I witnessed Katie 2 different times swim for Stanford and swim for the United States. In person, I watched her swim. It was insane to see such athletic prowess. Now, Katie Ledecky's time is better than Leah Thomas's, but it also, if you look at Katie Ledecky's time and compare it to the rest of the Ivy League males, yeah, she's going to kick their asses. So there's one paragraph from this that I want to talk about. And it relates back to Martina Navratilova's take that the rules need to be changed. Those who oppose the inclusion of trans women in women's sports argue that trans women have an unfair competitive advantage and that as a result, they will take away opportunities from cisgender athletes. According to the NCAA, these assumptions are not well founded. Moreover, there is a lack of scientific evidence that conclusively demonstrates a direct link between testosterone and athletic performance. Now, what this person is saying is that every person who opposes the inclusion of trans women when they talk about competitive advantage is only considering testosterone. And the problem is that's not the case. The rule only dictates testosterone. So the rule says you have to only look at testosterone suppression, and you have to do it with a certain amount of time. In certain cases, like if we look at Laurel Hubbard, the testosterone suppression has to be measured, and I don't believe that's a case in the NCAA, which is a problem in itself. But the rule itself only points to the advantages coming from testosterone, period. Okay, the problem with this paragraph is those who oppose the inclusion of trans women into women's sports argue that trans women have an unfair competitive advantage and that as a result, they will take away from opportunities from cisgender athletes. Absolutely. Okay, if we believe that Leah Thomas, having competed as a male, having gone through puberty and trained very hard for years after puberty, being vice champion as a male in a, it's tough. Ivy League swimming is still tough. It's not the top or anywhere near the top of the NCAA, but it's still a grind. They still train really, really hard. Okay. And as a male, being vice champion in any of those events is a big deal in the Ivy League. Okay. So the advantages come from that, barring testosterone completely. But then in the next sentence, this person says, moreover, there's a lack of scientific evidence that conclusively demonstrates the direct link between testosterone and athletic performance. Who was looking at that? I wasn't. I didn't even mention the word testosterone. Okay? But the rule states that it's all about testosterone. Look, at the end of the day, this is what athletics is all about. Being an athlete. If we look at, in my involvement in weightlifting, okay, when I was growing up, I was a skinny, long, and lanky kid. No one would have selected me for weightlifting, and that's totally fine, okay? Yet I was able to snatch 143, clean and jerk 176, clean 180 after hard work, but I was able to do that because I was an athlete. I played sports my entire life. I retained coaching. I am able to take on things that people say and manipulate my body in space faster than most people. I think that's a very understated trait that people we want to talk about genetics. We want to talk about hormones. We want to talk about all these things, but sometimes there's an intangible thing. It's just athleticism. So if I was to take someone who's not very athletic, not very good at swimming, give them testosterone, yeah, they'll probably be better at swimming, but they're not going to be an athlete, right? We cannot equate athleticism with testosterone. I agree with that. But athletic performance from someone who's already athletic, hell yeah, it's going to fucking help, okay? And yeah, maybe we can't determine that through the direct bounds of science that this person wants us to, but it is pretty well proven of the millions of people that have ever taken some sort of androgen, some sort of exogenous hormone. Okay. Now, if we take the reverse of that, yes, we can lower someone's testosterone and they will still perform well. I can guarantee you the studies, and I want you guys to click on this link. I'm not going to do it here for brevity of this, but I can almost guarantee you that all of these scientific studies will try to equate performance and testosterone levels. And that yeah, that is not ever going to work out in favor of just testosterone means athletic performance. Because if that was the case, we would just measure people's testosterone and say, hey, you're the winner. Okay. I've seen some of these studies where the women with lower testosterone often win more times. Okay. So yeah, the rule itself, again, going back to Martina Navratilova, the rule itself being only about testosterone is faulty. And if Leah Thomas is following the rules, well, there's not much we can do about that. And I want to finish it by saying this. Leah Thomas is following the rules. But that doesn't mean that just because you're following the rules that people are going to like you and like what you do. Okay? Well, what I want you guys to say is your piece in the comment section. I am blessed with having a comment section that writes paragraphs and paragraphs. People are very well thought out in the comment section. I get demonetized on this channel for talking about things like this. I hope I don't this time. I feel like I was pretty level-headed. I did get fired up, but I'm level-headed in the sense that I'm not going to be inflammatory towards identity or groups. Okay, that's not what I'm about. I want to paint the picture of what actually happens here from someone who looks at things through an athlete's eyes, someone who is involved in swimming and has been involved in swimming before. Okay, I want to get from you guys your take, something that's well thought out, something that I might not be thinking about, from either sides of the coin, from either sides of the debate. And yes, it does help out with the algorithm. And one last thing I'm going to note, I know I said there was one last thing before. I was demonetized for talking about someone who had taken the red pill idea and bastardized it. All I did was talk about that someone's words. His name's Naughty Aguilar. That video is playing right now in the background. Okay. I want you to watch that video and listen to my verbiage and ask yourself if that's something worth being demonetized for. Okay? I don't know. This might get demonetized. And if it does, that sucks. Okay? That really sucks. This is how I get paid. This is my main form of income here. But yes, in case I get demonetized, please try and help me out by going to my Patreon. You can subscribe to my Patreon. It helps me out, gives me some semblance of some monetary help in case things like this do get demonetized. If you go there and you subscribe, you'll get beginner programs for weightlifting, you'll get general strength programs, you'll get advanced programs for weightlifting, and you'll get squat programs to build your legs up. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.